Throughout his life, St. John Bosco seemed undisturbed by threats or dangers that loomed all around him. His courage in the face of adversity was legendary. But was he always this way? Stick around to hear a chilling tale about gremlins in the attic and how young John Bosco dealt with them. I'm your host, Adrian Fonseca. Subscribe for new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today we'll explore a fascinating glimpse into the childhood of St. John Bosco, revealing how the qualities that would define his sainthood were already evident in his youth. And as we delve into the story, keep these key themes in mind: how young John's practical thinking and courage set him apart, the power of faith over fear and superstition, and the foundation of trust in God that shaped Don Bosco's character. And a question to ponder: when you are faced with unexplained or frightening situations, do you rely on faith and reason like young John, or do you let fear take control? And before we get started on today's amazing story, I want to let you know that the one way that you can help this channel is by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with someone that you know. That is the best way. It costs you nothing but a few moments of your time, and I would be very grateful because YouTube does not like to share content like this one. So if you would do that for us, it would be a wonderful, wonderful sacrifice for the glory of God and the salvation of souls. So thank you in advance. One autumn, when St. Don Bosco was known as Johnny, the family visited his grandmother's house in Capriglio. They stayed for a few days to help with the grape harvest. All welcomed the little fatherless family into their home with open arms. As was often the case in the days before the worldwide invasion of television, the family would gather to share stories. As night approached, someone told how in times past, unexplained noises were heard in the attic above them. Remember, this was the home of simple farming folk. The room where the conversation was being held had a plank ceiling, which served as the floor to a wide attic above it. This attic was used as a granary and storage for other crops. Continuing his tale, the storyteller claimed that these disturbances would be brief at times, or prolonged at other times, but always very frightening. Everyone agreed that only the devil was capable of disturbing people in this way. Everyone, that is, except young John. Being full of common sense even at a young age, and not given to superstition, John did not believe these fables, but professed that those phenomena could be attributed to some natural cause. It could have been the wind, birds that had entered the attic, or even a feral cat. Meanwhile, as it was already dark, the lamps were lit. Suddenly they heard the clatter of something falling above them, like a basket full of bowls, and then a dull, slow noise, dragging above their heads from one corner of the room to the other. All common sense and reasoning ceased, giving way to a somber silence. Again, a loud, sinister, and unexpected noise. Everyone's face grew pale. What could it be? They whispered to one another. Mama Margaret called to her son. Come, let's go out. Something terrible could hurt you. But John, usually obedient to his mother, replied, No, I want to see what is there with my own eyes. Meanwhile, the noise continued at intervals, and at that hour, it was so frightening and inexplicable that everyone gathered closer together, looking at each other's faces. Was the front door perhaps left open? Questioned one of the relatives. No, it is locked, replied another. Enough of this. The youngest in the group stood up resolutely, lit a lantern, and said, Let's go and see. The others trembled. But look, let's be sensible. Wait for tomorrow, in the daylight. What? Why should you be afraid? With that, John Bosco climbed the wooden staircase that led into the attic. The others, each holding lighted lantern and a stick or a wooden spoon, followed the boy, trembling and speaking in whispers. John pushed open the attic door, entered, and raised the lantern, looking around. No one was there. All was silence. His relatives had appeared at the door. Only one or two had dared to enter the attic with him. Then, suddenly, a strange thing happened. A grain sieve in a corner moved by itself and advanced toward the frozen onlookers. At the cries of fright, the sieve had stopped, but after a few moments, it started up again. Advancing resolutely, the upended sieve came to rest at the feet of John, who had actually, to the amazement of all, taken a few steps towards it. John held out his lamp to the person nearest to him, but the frightened man dropped it on the ground, and the lamp went out. Another lit lamp produced itself from the cowering crowd at the doorway. Little John took the lamp, placed it on top of an old chair, and bending down, put his hands on the sieve at his feet. "Let it go! Let it go!" the doorway dwellers shouted in alarm. The boy ignored their cries and lifted the sieve from the ground. There was a universal burst of laughter. Under the sieve stood not a ghost or gremlin, but rather a large, irate hen. As young John had predicted, there was in fact a natural explanation for the devil in the attic. The sieve had been resting against the far wall, sloping towards the floor. The hen began pecking at it as some wheat grains probably remained stuck in the wicker. When the sieve fell, the hen was held captive. Frustrated by her confines, she ran about, bumping into walls and running back and forth across the attic floor. And this caused a hullabaloo that caught the attention of everyone below. For all her foolishness, that unlucky hen paid the price. Mama Margaret scooped her up and said, "You will not scare us anymore." After twisting her neck, she plucked the hen and tossed her in the pot. "The gremlin is in the pot!" cried the family. A magnificent dinner was enjoyed among those glad to be freed from the boogeyman. This delightful childhood story reveals much about the character that would one day make John Bosco a great saint. To what can we attribute John's fearlessness at such a young age? What about his insistence on natural causes? What about his unwavering trust in God and Our Lady? Psalm 91 verse 5 and 6 says, "If you trust in God's help, you will not fear the night terrors, nor the specter that goes around in the darkness." His soul was pure, and he relied on God for everything, so he had nothing to fear. Throughout his life, St. John Bosco knew that even if he should meet with death, his conscience was clear, and he would soon be with his greatest love, the Blessed Virgin Mary. In our own lives, we face many gremlins in the attic, fears, uncertainties, and challenges that can paralyze us. Like young John, we can approach them with both faith and reason, trusting in God while using the common sense that He gave us. So the next time you face something that frightens you, remember young John Bosco's courage and his practical faith. And perhaps most importantly, remember that sometimes what terrifies us in the moment might just turn out to be dinner. But what did you think about today's episode? What stood out to you the most? Leave a comment in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for joining me today. St. John Bosco, pray for us. May God bless you, and Mary Immaculate keep you under her mantle. God love you.